All right, so section 1-1, finally, after 2 weeks, we're on chapter 1. How about that? So we're going to talk about three terms. We're not really going to define them. There's really no definition. They're actually called undefined terms. So there's really no technical geometry definition for these. Now, if you open up to a dictionary or something, you may find something that looks like this. But three undefined terms. The first one is the word point. Now, we don't have an official definition for it, but I can kind of describe it for you, and that's all we're going to do. But the most important thing is what we're going to do here in a second is we're going to label the point. Okay, it's very important that you know how to label these things. That's what I'm talking about. We're going to do the rest of the year. Label points, label lines, label, in another lesson we're going to do angles and line segments and all that kind of stuff. Labeling these things is very important. If you don't label it correctly, I take points off, okay, for a quiz or a test and stuff like that. So make sure you understand how to label things correctly. So let's talk about a point. Basically, we talk about space first of all. Space is basically everything all around us. Everything around us is space. If I take one particular spot, bang, right there. If I took that spot right there, that would be a point. Now, technically, a point doesn't have any dimensions. It doesn't have any width, doesn't have any height, doesn't have any depth or anything like that. Okay, but it's a particular spot, a place, a location in space somewhere. Well, we got to be able to figure out where that, how to name that point. And so what we do when we write it down, we use a dot to represent a point. A dot in and of itself is not a point. It just represents where the point's located. You hear what I just said? So the dot itself is not the point, because what did I say about a point? It doesn't have any width, doesn't have any height, doesn't have any depth. But if I put a point on my piece of paper with my pencil or my pen, and I put it on the paper, you could actually measure how wide that point is, right? How tall it is. No matter how small you make that point, if I just went bang like that, that still has some width and still has some height, right? And it even has some depth. If I drew that on a actual piece of paper and not just on digital, okay, like I have it here. But anyway, we have to label that point, find out where that point's located. And so what we do is we put a little dot right there to represent where the point is, and then we use a capital letter to represent that point. That's important, okay? A capital letter represents where a point is located. So if I have a dot, I represent it with a capital letter. So if they say, what is this point? What would you say? Point what? A. All right? So we use a capital letter to represent a point. Let's see what else I want to say about that. I don't think there's much more to say. Now, if they said, we'll move on. I'll get to that in this point. So this that's point, and then the second one is line. So the second undefined term, again, we don't really have an official definition for it. We just kind of describe what a line is. A lot of people say, well, line's a straight line. Well, line in and of itself does mean straight. So I don't have to say a straight line. If I just say line, automatically I know it's going to be straight. Does that make sense? So if I say line, you don't have to say straight line. All you got to do is say line, because there is no crooked line. Got it? Only straight lines. Blake?
Sometimes if you draw the line could be like squiggly, right? Like that.
Nope. Well, then it would be a combination of several different lines. I know what you're saying. Make straws like that? So, like if you're saying this right here.
No, not like that. Like they have curves on.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a line. Alright, because a line is going to be straight. So we don't have to say straight line. If I say line, automatically that's in there. Is that straight? No, that's curved. A line doesn't have any curves to it. So that would just be a curve, okay, or something. We're not even going to talk about that. It's just some kind of a rounded shape. We don't call that anything. That's not a line. This is a line right here. This is actually a combination of how many? 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, right? So that's actually a combination. I mean, if you take a look at the whole thing, we don't call the whole thing just one line. That would be one line, that would be a line, that one would be one, and that one would be one right there. Everybody got that? So line in and of itself is going to be straight. I don't have to say straight because it's automatically considered to be straight if I say line. Make sense? All right. Notice what it's got on the ends of these things. What is it?
Arrows.
Little arrows. What do you think that means? Keeps on going. That's right. The line keeps on going that way and that way. Now, there's a whole bunch of points on this line. In fact, I could tell you how many points are on this line. How many are there? 2 points? 0 points?
However many you want there to be.
So there's only 3. I only want there to be 3, so there's only 3 points on this line. Now think about it. A line basically is made up of a whole bunch of points.
So it's
Like a whole bunch. Right, an infinite number of points. That's right. An infinite number of points. You can fit, right? You could keep putting points on here forever and ever and ever and ever and never fill up that line. That means that there's an infinite number that can fit on that line. Remember what a point is. A point doesn't have any width. It doesn't have any depth. It doesn't have any size. So if it doesn't have any size, I could fit as many points as I want on that line right there, couldn't I? Especially since it keeps on going in both directions. All right. So anyway, I'm not going to get too much into that. But Isaiah, you said something. You said 2 points, right? Well, that's the least number of points that you can have to make a line. If I just had 1 point, does that make one particular line? You're like, well, sure it does. I can make a line go through that point. But yeah, I could make another line go through that point. It wouldn't be the same line, would it? How many lines could I draw through 2 particular points? So if I had a point A right here and a point B right here, how many different lines could I draw through those 2 points? Just one. One's the only one. I couldn't draw 4 because it would all be on top of each other, wouldn't it? It'd all be the same line. So if I give you 2 points and I say draw a line through those 2 points, you can only draw how many? Just one. Just one line will actually connect those 2 points. You're like, well, I could draw another one, be right on top of it. But then it's the same line, isn't it? You follow me? All right, so only one line can be drawn through those 2 points right there. Does that mean this line only has 2 points on it?
no.
No. How many points are on any line? Not a lot. How many? Give me a number. An infinite number, all right? Infinity is a number. Okay, it's an actual number. But right here, I've only labeled 2 of those infinite number of points. You got it? So how many points are on the line? Infinite number. How many have I labeled on this line? Just 2, okay? I've labeled them with capital letters. Now let's talk about how to name this. We talked about how to name a point. We use one single capital letter. Do you with me? Open your eyes, please. So look at this right here. If I want to name this line, there's several different ways I can name this line. What I'm going to do is I use 2 points to name a line. Now, I may have half a dozen points that are labeled on that line, but how many points do I use to name this line? 2. I could name it line AB. Now, I don't just write an AB. Look what I do. I put a little line over top of it and an arrow on both ends. That's how you label a line. Write it down. Look, I only have 2 points there, don't I? Don't put 3. Don't put 4. Don't put 5. Only put 2 points on the line. Isaiah, did you sign this? Okay.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
You know how you have those 2 points there?
Yep.
So this line AB, it can't go past those 2 points. So I can put
No, it can go past those 2 points. I never said it has to start and stop here. It just has to, those 2 points just have to lie on that line. That line keeps on going through those points. It doesn't end here at B. It keeps on going, doesn't it? That's what that arrow indicates. What about this? The arrow's going this way, so it goes past A. So it goes through them, right? It doesn't stop at B, and it doesn't stop at A. It keeps on going. It's just I had a line that keeps on going, and I just said, I just picked a spot on that line. Bang, right there. I'm going to call that point B. Bang, I'm going to call that point A. All right, that's all I've done right there. Does that make sense? So I could call it line AB. Does it have to be in alphabetical order? Does it have to go left or right? Nope. I could, I'll put an or, I could also call this line BA if I wanted to. It doesn't make any difference. All right, doesn't make any difference at all. Does the order that you put those letters, it doesn't matter. Now what if I stuck another point in here? Call it point C. Okay, I could call it all kinds of different things now. Remember, how many points do we use to name the line? Just 2. And it doesn't matter which 2. It does not make any difference which 2 I pick. And it doesn't matter what order I put them in. So give me some options on this. What are some other options I could call this? AC. We don't say A to C. We just say line AC. All right, so we just say line AC, or what else? We could, yeah, switch it around and just say line CA. Yep, I could go line BC.
What about cab?
And then I could go CB. What did I just say? Can I say this?
No.
No, you don't say that. Why? Because you only use how many? You only use 2 points to name a line. You don't use 3. All right, I don't care how many points are on here. You're only using 2 of those points. I don't care which 2 points you use. All right, but they have to be lying on that line. What if I had a point out here and call it D? Could I call this line AD? Line AD would be a completely different line, wouldn't it, than this one right here. So I couldn't call it that. They all have to lie on the same line. All right, we okay with that? All right. Oh, let's talk about this. I talked about these 3 points lying on the same line. We have a name for that. We got a word for that. So when I talk about points all lying on the same line right here, I say that they are collinear. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Whew.
Bless you.
All right, thanks. I think my allergies are kicking in. I don't think so. All right, collinear. Collinear means that there are points that all lie on the same line. So if I said A, C, and B, are A, C, and B collinear?
Yes.
What did I say collinear means?
Lines all lie on the same.
Points that lie on the same line, okay? Points that lie on the same line. So yes, they are collinear. What about D? What if I said points A, C, B, and D? Are all 4 of those collinear? No. 3 of them are, but guess what? D is not. So I can't say all of those are collinear, but I could say A, C, and B are collinear. I could say C and B are collinear. You follow me? I could put another point on this line. I could put one right here. Okay, A, E, C, B are all what? Collinear. If I talk about, let's put an F right there. What if I said A, E, and F? Are A, E, and F collinear? No. So I would say A, E, and F are non-collinear. All right, non-collinear. Pretty simple, isn't it? All right, so if they don't all lie on the same line, they're non-collinear. If they do lie on the same line, they are collinear. Co means with, and you also see that word line in there, don't you? Okay, with the same line or on the same line is basically what that means. Okay, collinear means all on the same line. Here's another way that we could label a line. We could label it with the points that are on there, but what if I had, let's use a different color here. Let's go to this nice blue. What if I had a line like this? And I didn't label any of the points on this line, but I put a little lowercase letter. Make that an L. A little lowercase l. I could also name this by that one lowercase letter. That doesn't mean that's a point on the line. It's just the name of the line. Now, I don't put an L with a little arrow symbol over top of it. I don't do that. Okay, what I would do, if I called this line L, I would just say, I would write out the word line, and then I'd put L. It doesn't have to be L for line. It could be any letter. But it's got to be what? Lowercase, right. The uppercase represents what? A point. That's right. Okay, so those are points on the line, so I could name it like that. But lowercase, I could name it like that. So just depends. Every once in a while, they'll do that. They'll label it just with a lowercase letter. Sometimes they'll label it with the points. With me on that? Okay, they might say this. We'll call this lowercase m right there. They'll say, what's another name for line M? That could be a problem on your homework. What's another name, or name another, how would they say it? I don't know exactly how they say it. Something like, what's another name for line M? What would you say?
A to B.
Now, you don't say A to B. What do we say? We say line. We start off with the word line, and then we say what? AB, line AB. So line AB would be another name for this line. Now there's all kinds of options. Line AE, line EC, line CB. If you look in the back of the book, right, if you have an odd problem, you look in the back of the book, they'll give you the answers. But they're not going to give you every single possibility. They'll probably give you one sample answer, right? Your answer may be different. In the back of the book, it might say another name for line M would be line AB. But you wrote AE. Line AE. Does that mean you're wrong? No, that's still right. Okay, it's just there's so many different options. We're not going to go through every single option. Okay, we're running out of time. Let's go to the next video.